this is all part and parcel. Like all these influencers after the drone attacks in the Gulf, and specifically, I think the Dubai airport was attacked and other sites in Emirates. It seems like all these influencers who live there, but all happen to be blonde women from different countries, have suddenly just taken to Instagram and posted reels saying how safe they are and how great the UAE is. This last one doesn't really have much of an audio component, but it's by this woman named Boss Baby. And she is, once again, a blonde woman who is surfing in high heels, carrying the Emirati flag. I feel like this has got to be AI. Let me know what you think.
I think this is AI. Yeah. It's fun though. I like it.
You like this?
Yeah, I like
Okay.
surfing.
Okay.
I do want to say though, like, look, I'm not trying to like. Yes, there's a little bit of irony of people who like went to Dubai to be influencers being like, not us under attack. Like this is meant for the rest of the region.
Yeah.
But I feel like as Americans, I don't want to throw stones too much. Like I think I maintain that like I hate the leadership of the Emirates, but like I know there are a lot of everyday people who have also gone to Dubai out of a lack of anywhere else to go. And like I don't feel happy for anyone who's nervous or afraid. I mean,
these people don't seem to have gone there out of lack of anywhere else
I hear
to
you
go.
on the Instagram
So this
influencers,
is like a totally different
but we
group
know
of
plenty of people who like have family in Dubai, you know.
Right, but they're not like, oh fuck, I love Dubai, I love Emirat. Like there's a difference in between like the people who are just clearly there to live some sort of like frictionless fantasy luxury lifestyle, and people who just like ended up there, like the way people ended up in the US because of the other circumstances that they didn't have as much control over.
Yeah. I just like, I mean, God forbid, like the US is like, I mean, I even feel bad saying this because the possibility of it is so meek. It feels obnoxious to even say it when so many people are suffering with this war. But like, yeah, if like the US were to suffer any kind of retaliatory attack in the kind of like master chest awful way of war, you'd be like, oh, right, because the US attacked everyone. But like, I would still feel bad being here while we were being attacked. You know what I mean? Like I wouldn't feel good. Like I live in a place of empire that is evil, and I also don't wish to suffer personally the consequences.
You wouldn't take to Instagram and be like,
wouldn't.
I am doing propaganda on behalf of the state because
I
telling everyone I feel safe.
That's a good
It's
distinction.
a totally different thing.
That's
Yeah. Okay, I guess so many clips from the last 3 weeks, but I'm trying to choose the best ones.
You're all clipped up.
All right, this one is from a really excellent interview that Glenn Beck did with AI George Washington.
What?
And I feel like this portends.
Wait, is it real Glenn Beck or also AI Glenn Beck?
Real Glenn Beck.
Okay, but AI George Washington.
In this tumultuous moment, this maelstrom of world events, he, I guess, felt that he needed to turn to, I guess, like a nation state prophet.
Yeah.
When you think about it.
Wait, I want to see this also.
This is his Wizzy. I'll show you.
We are trying to not fight foreign wars and not be involved in the world's policemen. But there are times that we have to demonstrate strength.
See a T-shirt, George Washington?
Hold on. Yeah. So George Washington is wearing like a tight T-shirt, and he looks pretty good. He looks hot. He looks really, really good. He's got long hair.
Because we haven't done a podcast for a while, I haven't seen like your really weird internet content for a while.
And he kind of, George Washington looks like he is a VC in San Francisco, apparently.
Conflict, but I don't know where the foreign entanglement begins and where it ends.
When I was president, I did not crave power. I didn't strut in my uniform, dreaming of conquest. In fact, I begged several times to not be the general and not be the president. I didn't want it, but I understood my responsibility. And I also understood that some things that are easy to forget when you're staring down bayonets. Peace is not the default. It has to be guarded deliberately with foresight and strength.
So I think George Washington AI George Washington says that the Iran war is justified because it's peace through strength.
Because real George Washington would have had such a clear idea of what was going on right now.
Yeah.
Also,
Yeah.
the way
He'd
that
be like, what is Iran?
yeah. Also, real George Washington was a slave owner who,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, was a pretty shitty human being.
Yeah. Okay. I got
to
so
cut you
many-
off, man.
two
We
more
got a
good
lot of
ones.
news items.
two more good ones. All right. This one's did you see the interview of the Doge guy talking about DEI? These are both
Yes,
DEI
I did.
related.
Yeah. You can talk about it a
Yeah.
little bit if you want.
Well, I don't know if I should play the clip. I feel like everyone's probably seen it, but I'll play it.
All right.
Sets up the next one nicely.
How do you interpret DEI?
I just gotta say, this guy looks like the most, like he is the product of like European inbreeding.
What do you mean? He's kind of handsome.
Oh,
He's not.
you wanna keep that on record here?
I feel like
This
that's
is
false.
the most inbred motherfucker I've ever seen in my life.
He doesn't look ugly. He's a shitty person.
Look
but
at him.
what? Okay.
Oh my god. Okay. This is oh wow. Okay. Well, I'm gonna take this video down right now. No, you can't be looking at that anymore. Anyway, he keeps giving like all this circular reasoning for what DEI. He's like, it's anything that.
It's like he's
Talks
talking
about
about
race.
existentialism. He just like can't yeah.
And he keeps citing back. He's like, DEI is whatever the definition that we came up with at the time is. And
Basically,
he's like, what's the definition that you came up at the time? He's like, well, it's the definition for DEI.
basically it's like DEI is whatever I want it to be. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
All right, one more
Have you
clip,
heard-
mister, and
have
then
you
we got
heard
to
this
move on to
one?
some news items.
This is at congressional testimony.
Hello?
U.S.
Do you
Rep.
hear me?
I hear
Okay.
you. Okay. All right, here it is.
Can you tell me what is queering the map?
So I think we were trying to make the maps more gay.
Literally? That's
Well,
how do you
don't
make a map
know.
more gay?
I mean, especially
Or
with
gay
AI,
at all?
Since
I
the
haven't
age of
heard this one.
cartography, we've had pretty good maps, but maybe they weren't gay enough. So I know also, I took critical theory in college. I think sometimes people use queer as a verb. I do understand that the maps that we were trying to make gay were, I think, of Czechia and Slovakia. So maybe those countries asked for it. I doubt it, but I don't know.
Can you tell
Wait,
me?
I need more context. Who is this lady?
I have no idea. I think she's like a lawyer who was hired to look into like these programs. I think she's like, they're kind of doing a bit. where
Yeah.
They're like, why does this program exist? And she's like, yeah, I think they were trying to make maps more gay or something.
Gotcha.
But in a soundbite, it's.
I will say that's one of those things that like there is like really beautiful theory and conversation about, but like it does lend itself to soundbitism.
Yeah.
There's a beautiful Instagram account that is called, I think, Queering the Map or Queer Map, just something like that. And it's just like stories of queer people all over the globe talking about kind of like misconnections.
Yeah. Last one. This is Pete Hegseth
Okay.
at a press conference. And this is something he really said.
As it pertains to the U.S. casualties, that particular incident was, you have air defenses and the lot's coming in and you hit most of it. And we absolutely do. We have incredible air defenders. Every once in a while, you might have one, unfortunately, we call it a squirter that makes its way through. And in that particular case, it happened to hit a tactical operations center that was fortified, but these are powerful weapons. So we certainly will do, as I said, moments like that, as we remember them and we take care of them and take care of their families, only stiffen our resolve to ensure that we do this properly.
Squirters only stiffen our resolve. The Honorable Pete Hegseth. He was talking about, I think, when the airbase in Kuwait was struck and some U.S. soldiers died. Imagine like
Did
the
they even
secretary.
die? I think there was one guy who was
no.
okay.
A couple. More American servicemen have died than the U.S. is telling us. And every
It's probably
time
true.
there's a report of someone dying, they're just like, oh, it was friendly fire. Like the other day, there was that incident actually over Kuwaiti airspace where like 3 American F-15s or whatever jets like went down, and they're like, yeah, they were all friendly fire. Like just like someone went up and just like took 3 I don't know, I assume next gen jets out of the air like easy. And then the other day there was another, I think like a refueling craft that crashed allegedly or went down. And anyways, but just imagine like your son's body comes home and like they died so unnecessarily in this stupid fucking war, and the Secretary of Defense is like, yeah, no, it was we call it a squirter.
That is so offensive. You're right.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge potential for like positive radicalization in this country. Like there are so many former vets who were taught the lie that this was the only way that they could have social mobility. I mean, maybe that was true, but ethically shouldn't have been at that cost. But I feel like there are a lot of people who need to turn on the state who like, there are also so many vets with PTSD who are still suffering. And like, it's not, I understand when people
those are losers, according to Trump.
I know. I was going to say also, I understand when people are like, well, fuck their PTSD. Like they killed people abroad. Like that's true. But I do think it's a source of like people who can be turned against the empire. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's really silly.
Yeah. All right. What's on deck?
Oh man, I don't know where to start. We're at war with Israel, and the US are at war with Iran.
Yeah.
And then Iran is
You don't say?
Yeah.
Okay. This is news to me.
Yeah,
Tell me
breaking
more.
news, guys, in case you missed in the last 3
Yeah.
weeks. And then Iran is kind of, responding in a strategic manner by targeting US bases, of which there are an insane amount.
Mm-hmm.
And now Israel is trying to take over Lebanon, which it's wanted to do for a long time.
So they've displaced almost 1 million people in southern Lebanon.
Insane
killed
amounts of people.
At least, I think the figures are around 1,500, but it's probably more by now because they're just constantly bombing.
But the sheer displacement is insane. Yeah.
All the while, more and more people are being killed in Gaza. Like that has not let up at all, and they have shut down most of the gates to enter Gaza, so there are fewer aid trucks getting in than before. And then there are several fronts of war opened up because of Iran, right? So they struck immediately, and they should have known this would happen, right? Like Iran, like you said, struck several bases and targets in the Gulf, in Saudi and in Emirat and Qatar and Bahrain. I think in Oman as well, but everywhere, right? So that's the leverage Iran has, is like, we're gonna strike your bases and we're
Hold
going
up
to
oil.
Yeah,
In the Strait of Hormuz.
oil has
yeah.
gone up to $100 a barrel, so that's up from like $60-ish a barrel, making that like the Gulf oil, what is it, like all that partnership, that IEA, something I can't remember, but they are tapping into their reserves to try to stabilize the market. But
We
that can
are
only
too
be
here
done
in
for
the
so long.
US, but apparently it's going to be like a blip. It'll barely make a difference. It'll be like 25 cents a barrel.
Yeah, it won't
Yeah.
make a difference. And at the same time, in order to make up for, the dwindle, like, dipping into the reserves, and to make sure that the energy demand in Europe is met, we've removed sanctions on Russian oil. So the country that we sanctioned because of Ukraine is now unsanctioned, so that, I don't know, I guess we could do the same thing in Iran. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much mess. One of the more horrific stories has definitely been the U.S. attack on a girls' school, which
That was the opening
was
salvo.
the opening thing. And when it first happened, I immediately thought it was Israel for obvious reasons.
Mm-hmm.
But it wasn't. It was the U.S. I mean, essentially, all of the Israeli attacks on children are the U.S. is to blame through, essentially through proxy. But this was directly U.S. They used
Mhm.
AI. Like Claude,
Mhm.
apparently, and it miscalculated. They're saying it miscalculated, but I honestly don't believe them. I think that the standard of war, I think because of what the world has allowed to happen in Gaza, I think that the standard of war has become so much more just in like unbelievably inhumane as a way that's being normalized. Like I refuse to believe that it was a mistake when they knew exactly where the Ayatollah was, that they accidentally killed all these children.
Yeah.
And it almost doesn't matter because they did it, you know?
Right. Yeah. It doesn't matter whether it was AI or a human in the loop. I almost feel like the fact that people are like, we're using AI. That's kind of the point, is that they're trying to extract people from the kill chain. And then the problem becomes AI rather than the fact that the military still killed these people. And the reason it was so, the reason I also thought it was Israel at first, I guess in some ways it is, like the US and Israel are inseparable, but it did follow like the exact Israeli template of like, let's attack this civilian center or infrastructure, commit this horrible war crime, and immediately say that it was Iranians,
Right.
or like immediately say it was being used as some base, right? So it's like Al Shifa Hospital, Al Ahli, like all these hospitals that they struck.
It's completely the same
They were
template.
like, oh no, it
yeah.
wasn't us. It
Yeah.
wasn't us. It was like a misfired rocket.
And if it was
because
us, then they were harboring Hamas. Like it's like this
Right.
double, yeah.
And now even the US's own investigations show that it was like a Tomahawk missile, which apparently Israel does not possess. And so it's very clear that it's the US that did it. The thing that makes this like all the more fucked up is that they care so little that even between the president and his cabinet secretaries, they don't even care to get their story straight.
Yeah.
So, they first deny it, and then I think Trump has like a random interview and she's like, yeah, it's like tragic, whatever. And then they like maybe try to walk that back, and they're like, we're still investigating. And I think this has happened on multiple things, right? Like is the same with the decision to go to war, right? So they'd asked Marco Rubio, why did we strike Iran? And he was like, well, we had pretty good it was we had to follow Israel. Israel was about to attack, and like we knew that if they attacked, then essentially kind of justifying it by saying that Israel dragged us to war.
Right.
And then Trump gives an interview the day later, and he's like, oh dude, like I wanted to do this.
Right.
If anything, I had to drag Israel into this war.
It's the same, it's two sides of the same coin. Like we're operating together. And I think to your point, like, yeah, I just want to reemphasize, I just think it's so upsetting that this is the standard of warfare that's been normalized. Also, like the desalination plants that have been set on fire, just like the deliberate attacks on civilian infrastructure that are clearly just that are horrifying. And they're horrifying in and of themselves, and that's the main point. But it's also just so short-sighted to let this get normalized for the entire sake of the entire world. Like I mean, anything could be done to the U.S. and you could say like, well, that's justified. Yeah.
So the U.S. is saying that they want as they bomb the Iranians, they're like, well, they're gonna rise up in the streets and do regime change from within. In order for that to, just like setting aside how
insincere that is,
absurd that is, and insincere. If you actually do want that to happen, there has to be something left for people to want to rebuild.
There has to be infrastructure, yeah.
And so, but they're like attacking all this infrastructure, especially the water salination plants are just such a brazenly like horrible thing to attack, an inhumane thing to attack, because I don't know if we mentioned on the show before, but like Tehran is like having a water crisis. They are very close to having no water, and they've been trying to connect all these different water sources over the last decade or so across the country, but obviously it's slow work because massive infrastructure projects are hard when you also don't have any money because of sanctions. And so I think there was even talk before this war, like, of potentially moving Tehran as like the capital because
They were so short
they
on
didn't
water.
know that people
Yeah.
would be able to live there anymore.
Yeah.
So attacking desalination plants is just like a demonic thing to do.
Yeah, and the way that they're kind of randomly attacking civilian infrastructure, I mean, the way that they're saying that they're going to keep on going down the chain of command for the current government just leaves no room for something else to come to fruition.
Mhm.
And it's also, I mean, the situation, like, at least in the Iranian diaspora, does seem to be very, like, multivalent and complicated. But my understanding from reporting on the ground is that, like, no one obviously wanted this. Like, no one wanted there to be, you know, even like maybe the one or two people who cheered the first missiles or whatever are now like horrified.
Yeah.
Because no one wanted, and just from like a statecraft politics again, and this is not me signing off on the Iranian government, which is horrible and has repressed and killed its own people, but like, of course they've said things like, you know, we don't want to be the next Syria, we don't want to be the next Palestine, we don't want to be the next Lebanon. And so of course they have to show so that they can kind of like put up a defense to the extent that like the US won't just do this again in another year. And it makes sense that they're responding this way.
Yeah. I do want to talk a bit about like the effect the war is going to have on the US, because I do, you know, if you've been keeping up with it, I mean, you see obviously that US is capable of much more destruction than Iran is, or at least up to this point is doing more destruction than Iran has, by a lot. Now, I don't think we know the extent of the bombing in Tel Aviv and other places in Israel because they've kind of been doing like a media blackout over there.
And also they're all just hiding underground.
Well, they are all hiding underground, but yeah, we don't have as much footage of the missile strikes as we do in Iran. But the US went in with all this like fanfare and like, you know, puffing out our chest and being like, this is going to be such an easy slam dunk. We're going to wrap this shit up in like 3-4 days. That's clearly has not been the case. As of yesterday or the day before, there are reports that Trump wants to occupy an island with that Iran controls with I think it's Kharja Island or something like that, but it's like a strategic island to occupy, although maybe not so much for the US because it's like within very easy striking range of Iran's missiles. And so like any Marines or anyone he puts on that is just like cannon fodder. But yeah, anyway, now they're talking about like putting like 2,500 troops somewhere on the ground in Iranian territory. So it's clearly not as easy. And so I think this kind of, Iran has really damaged the security theater and facade of the US in Israel, and also completely destroyed its reputational, its like ability to protect its allies in the region where it had all these bases, right? So like UAE.
Right. What is the point of
Saudi Arabia.
what is the point of selling your soul to American empire?
Right.
And again, I feel like it's maybe really obnoxious to say this as an American living in the heart of empire, but what is the point of playing host when you're not even gonna
you don't benefit?
Yeah, like they're still gonna fucking bomb, and like this has been the case for a while. Like, I think this is kind of like a larger story of American empire, but like now we're kind of towards like the last chapter, and who knows what will come next. I think everything is being more amped up, but this has always been the story, right? It's like we are the most powerful military in the world, and we can wreak such havoc, but ultimately there is something to people with home ground advantage. Like this is the story of like insurgency versus empire of any kind of colonizing force, right? People on the ground are kind of more nimble in their ability to respond. And so like, yes, Iran doesn't have the technology that we have, but they're doing a lot with their short range drones. Like, you know, they are kind of using it in a way that makes sense tactically as a response. And we seem to have had literally no game plan about the very obvious problem of the Strait of Hormuz and like the problem of the whole global economy. Like there was just no plan for that whatsoever.
Yeah. I keep going back and forth on this about like whether there's no plan or the fact that there's no plan.
The plan is chaos, I guess.
Is the plan.
Maybe that's true. Yeah.
Because I feel like chaos probably more often than not redounds to whoever just has the most
money,
physical might.
Yeah, or like even within the US, maybe the idea is that like not like this is maybe the conscious idea, but like the people with money will be okay and like the people globally with money will be okay and everyone else is just going to suffer.
I think in the past the reason we although we caused chaos, the reason we tried to make it seem like we weren't causing chaos and that we were actually establishing order is because people are naturally averse to inflicting pain on other people. And I think there's been a cultural shift, obviously led by Trump and Hegseth and all these people.
And just by the genocide in Palestine. Yeah.
Yeah, to tie like causation of human suffering to this hyper-masculine, like it's like we do this and it's awesome and it's fucking sick. And the fact that like we can get in there and like really like just like make a shit storm and we get to like brawl, that's really cool.
Yeah, I think that's true. I think we've gone from, and this narrative to be clear wasn't true either, but the narrative of like America is the kind of like cop of the world and we keep everyone safe, and now the narrative is like we are the brawn, like we are like we can do whatever we want and that's what makes us powerful. It's less about safety and more about power, I guess, just unvarnished power, which like doesn't ever sound like the flaming end of something. You know what I mean? Just to go out and like not a blaze of glory, but a blaze of absolute horror. Yeah. I have no.
And then Hegseth goes to the press conference every once in a while, reads one of his poems. He's like, Khomeini, I am gay.
What? I haven't seen
We have killed you thanks to the Jew.
What are you talking about?
This is like, have you not seen Hegseth's
rhymes? No, is he out here doing spoken word?
Yeah, he kind of is.
Oh, God.
You haven't seen this?
Maybe I have, actually. It's starting to ring a bell.
Yeah.
It's really horrific. I don't really have much to say on that particular point besides that. I will say there's been like some difficulty, and I don't want to get too into this because I don't think it's our place, and I don't have any like, it's not my conversation, but there has been some like hurt, it seems like, in conversation like within like Iranian diaspora circles of like just like a desire for some Iranians, not all in diaspora, to be like, with every breath that you condemn the U.S. invasion, you should also be condemning the Iranian government. But I think increasingly it's sort of like, one, these things aren't mutually exclusive, but two, the horror that's happening now, and it's the horror that's impacting not just Iran, but like the entire region, the entire world, is us. It's like the U.S. Mm-hmm. And so, I don't know. I do feel bad when people like, especially American leftists and people who don't have a tie to Iran, like I'm thinking specifically about Pakistani Shias, like are really riding hard for the Iranian government. I do feel like that must be really hard to see for some Iranians whose families have been victimized by the government. I don't know. I don't really have much to say besides that. That's been like an interesting dynamic, even in our very small circles, to watch unfold.
I will say, as far as you should, if you condemn like the U.S.-Israel assault on Iran, you should also be condemning IRGC or whatever.
And like Iran's assault on Iran, essentially.
I don't necessarily agree, but I mean, I've spoken to some people on this, and I think it's like a lot more nuanced than that. Obviously, like the way they are thinking about it, or, you know, the people I've talked to are thinking about it, it's just like, you have to take into consideration the time, the way in which you make the critique. Like, you have to make a full critique and really explain blah, 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 blah. Like, there's like all these like layers to how you formulate the thing that in most public forums, you're probably not going to get the chance, and things can be taken way out of context. One, if you don't really know what you're talking about. Two, if you don't get to fully express yourself or whatever, or there are people who are going in there with bad intent. And so it's almost like I don't know if you remember when like Dave Chappelle left his show like back in like 2000 something or whatever, but they were like working on a sketch or something, and this like white producer or some white guy who was watching like behind the scenes was like laughing his head off at this, like, you know, like racial humor that Dave Chappelle and his writers came up with. And he was like, yeah, I don't like the way this guy is laughing. It's like a little fucked up, and it feels like he's laughing at the wrong thing. Like, we want people to laugh, but not like that. And so he was just like, I'm done with the show. I'm going to Africa. And so it's kind of similar. It's just like, okay, you're doing the thing, but you're doing it in a way that I'm like, it's probably just better to focus on being anti-war than trying to, like, I don't know, untangle the very complex geopolitical issues and like the internal issues within Iran and its government and whatever, because at the end of the day, in the US, we just need to be like anti-war, like, activists.
Yeah.
And we're not going to decide, like, the only people who are going to decide the fate of the Iranian people are the Iranian people.
I think I really agree with that. And I think that's like a good thing for me to remember, because especially when you have people you know personally, you feel like a desire to like show solidarity and to like, but I don't know. I think I mostly agree with you. I agree that like, especially right in this moment, like the main thing to focus on is like our tax dollars are paying for like girls to be killed. Like, you know, like that's pretty clear cut.
Yeah.
That's not morally complicated, and it doesn't have to be, you know?
Yeah.
And I also think that like you can speak out about that, and you can try and, I mean, honestly, not that we're doing much, we should be doing more, but like you can try and like organize and rally and build support. And that doesn't mean that you are sanctioning the Iranian government. I mean, it doesn't mean that you're signing off on the Iranian government to do that, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah, poor choice of words.
Right. You're right. Sanctioning is not the right term. But I do want to say again, like I do think it's fair to say that like I think it is, I think doing what we're saying is different. I do think it's a little disrespectful. It's such a weird coalition of people I'm talking about. They're not even in coalition with one another, but like the two groups I can think of are some like white American leftists who like for some reason are very pro the Iranian Revolutionary Guard. I just don't think that that's their place either. Like, if you're not Iranian, why are you picking teams?
Sure.
And why are you picking teams about, like, so many of the specific organizers, even in our small circle in Pittsburgh, who have done such important work for pro-Palestine, have been really hurt by this regime? And so it just seems like a weird angle to take.
There's an idea of, like, a paradigm, right? Like, a paradigm is, like, you solve for this thing, and then that either positions you to be able to solve other things, or it also solves other things. And the paradigmatic issue here is that the US is like a massive military state and feeds on wars, and that needs to stop, and you just need to focus on being anti-war.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is the irony of this kind of like leftist approach is this reductionism, in that it kind of only thinks within a nation state framework. The answer to America being bad is not to pick another nation state. You know what I mean? It's not the answer is not to be like, well, maybe Russia and China and Iran are good. Like, that's just kind of sloppy thinking to me. And in a way, I think it kind of...
Are you saying what I'm saying is sloppy
No,
thinking?
I'm talking about the American leftist take, not what you're saying.
Oh, yeah.
But I'm saying what I think that they're doing is kind of, instead of being anti-war, they're still thinking with a nation state paradigm. And they're just picking nation states that are like opposed to the US. And then also, I feel like they are... I had one more thought. Yeah, just two things could be wrong. Like, it's not that complicated. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
What was my other thought? It was related to the nation states and picking teams. I don't know. It'll come back to me. And then the other group of people that I've just found weird, and I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but just like, like Pakistani Shias, like really going hard. And I understand that they're, you know, like a lot of Shias will follow an Ayatollah. Like a lot of people followed Ayatollah Sistani, who has his own issues in Iraq because he kind of backed the Iraq war. And some people followed these religious leaders in Iran. But I don't know. I think because especially Shias are like oppressed in so many places, because they're the minority in so many places, it just feels so ironic to me. Does it not seem ironic that they're supporting this like dictatorship, like just because it happens to be Shia, but like, you know what it's like to be oppressed within a nation state context, and you also like your entire religious tradition is based on like evil figures that are like, you know, just like stand-ins for dictators. Like I don't know, it feels weird.
I mean, sure, yeah, there's evil irony everywhere. It's, you know,
Yeah.
the justification for Israel is that they suffered this horrible atrocity,
Right.
and now they're doing the exact same horrible atrocity.
That's
right?
true. Yeah. I don't think we should be picking teams. Like I think like it's not a game. You know what I mean? Like it's not like, well, I'm Shia, so I'm on this team. Like that just seems
Right.
stupid. Yeah. Sorry, stupid is
Yeah.
kind of an insensitive word, but again, you can really like tap into religious language to mourn the martyrdom of all of these civilians, and it's horrific. And you can do that from a Shia perspective without sanctioning the government, without not sanctioning. Sorry, what I keep on saying sanctioning, without like signing off on the government. Yeah.
Mhm.
I don't know. But this has been a wedge issue in organizing for Palestine in the U.S. for a while.
I mean, even here in
That's
Pittsburgh.
what I'm saying. And there's like
Yeah.
only a couple hundred of us. There's not a lot of us.
Yeah. It's not good.
Yeah, so it's kind of like a sad. And that's the other thing that I feel bad about. But I'm like, does it have to be a wedge issue? Like maybe.
You just focus on being anti-war.
Right, but then so I agree with you, and that's how I feel. But then I'm like, well, I didn't come from a place, because this kind of happened over Syria too. Like I didn't come from a place where like my family was personally oppressed by this dictator. Maybe I would be like, fuck you, I don't want to be on a panel with these people. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
So I don't know. But I agree with you that I feel like that would be convenient. I feel like we have to be able to work on coalition on things, even if we don't agree on everything.
Yeah.
Because again, there's so few of us, we can't really afford to splinter. And we have to like primarily remain pro-Palestine, you know?
Yeah.
And we are. That's the thing. We have that in common. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
I was gonna say, I think the just going back to the constant undermining that Trump does to what his secretaries are saying, or they'll go say one thing and then he'll say the exact opposite the next day. I feel like some people write it off as, oh, he's kind of just dumb as shit and he doesn't know what's happening and whatever. And this may be true. And I also think it has the effect of concentrating more power in the executive and just like defanging even the positions of his own cabinet secretaries to plan wars and to set strategy or do any of that stuff. Because the next day after that, they just like snap to, they're like, oh yeah, well, what he said was the right thing, of course, right? Like they're not sticking to their initial assessment of the situation. They're just defaulting to what he says. So it sounds like wherever he's kind of swaying,
They kind of catch up too.
they go.
Yeah.
Right. And I think it's just kind of in the process of making the president kind of a king.
I was going to say, do you think we'll have a third Trump presidency? I think we might. Do you think we should try and leave if that happens?
I mean, I think the chaos of a prolonged war where we see a lot of people killed, I mean, I don't know. They've already signaled that. They're like, we may use like emergency powers, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Yeah. All right. Anything else to say? Oh, I guess one more thing I wanted to kind of point to is media coverage, both positive and negative. This is such a low bar, and I recognize that, but I am glad to see that the U.S., like all the main media sources, have been following in depth the killing the striking of that school. Like the Times had like a really long piece on it. There's been a lot of good coverage, and it's a little too late, but I am glad that's happening. I'm glad that that's being communicated to a broader American public. One thing that hasn't been communicated, as far as I can tell, as well as it's being communicated through like Al Jazeera and other channels, is just like the sheer displacement in Lebanon. Like that's just for some reason not getting through. And again, there's this kind of like guilt by association narrative that's really awful that I'm kind of hearing even in the background of like NPR and other sources I listen to regularly. Will it kind of say something like, well, you know, like it's a Hezbollah stronghold, and it's like millions of people live in this area.
Or they're saying, oh, well, the government failed to disarm Hezbollah. Oh, yeah. And the other thing that was ridiculous was that they were like, who was it? I think it was the U.S. government. It was just like, we need the people to go disarm Hezbollah.
Right. And it's just like, yeah.
We need the people of the U.S. to go and disarm the U.S.
Like 100%. That's what we need. Exactly. And it's just like, gosh, like 100%. The only way that this ends is like us taking down our government internally and maybe the world uniting against our government. And it's just so fucking ironic.
I think it's a loss, honestly, that a lot of these cities on the East Coast, I guess they exist elsewhere, but like their municipal armories are no longer that. It's a shame, honestly.
I mean, whatever. Our government has nuclear weapons. We're never going to have nuclear weapons for like states, nor should we. But
I mean,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know that a government will drop a nuclear weapon on itself.
I hope not. A paranoid thought I had, I know I wasn't alone.
I've been watching too much Fallout.
I know. But that was a paranoid thought that I had, but I actually can't tell if it's paranoid anymore when the FBI was like, there may be attacks on the West Coast from Iran. Like, I was like, watch them fucking attack us. Like, watch the government attack us and make us think it was Iran.
There was so many conspiracy
theories. That was my first thought.
Yeah.
I was just like, there's no way that Iran has the technology to reach us. Are you trying to tell us that you're going to attack us?
I saw all these videos of people being like, the really dangerous thing now is that you hear a thing and then suddenly there are all these, on Instagram and elsewhere, there are all these new news aggregator accounts that are just like making up AI shit mixed in with real shit. And you're just like, I'm not sure what's what.
Yeah.
But people were like, quote, reporting that at the same time that they made that, the next day, all these, the Pentagon was like, oh, these drones went missing from like somewhere. I don't remember where exactly. Essentially, trying to make the connection that like, oh, the government said Iran would attack with drones, and suddenly these drones owned by go missing, and so we'll probably see an attack on the West Coast in a couple days. It did not happen, but I definitely get that thinking, because there's just absolutely no trust with the government, because like how could there be, because they
also like
are caught
ICE and all this shit. Like it's like, well, we know they're willing to kill us, like, yeah. I think you're right. Like it's probably not actually true, but like I understand the impulse. I myself had that impulse.
I mean, honestly, if there is an attack on the West Coast, that's something certainly worth looking into. Yeah, because, but I guess, yeah. I mean, I don't know what more to say on that, but it is. I think it's part of the strategies
to make us paranoid and maybe feel like, oh, we have to be defended. We have to be on the attack because like we could be attacked. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I was talking to a friend about this the other day, and I'm just going to say it. I feel like January 6th got a bad rap in terms of strategy. I think we don't like the people who did it, obviously. But there were 400,000 people, 350,000 people who went like shortly after October 7th to DC for this like planned march, went along a route, and it was...
We were one of those people. Yeah.
Right. Nice and peaceful. And I'm like, what if 350,000 people just surrounded the White House?
It would kill us all. Are you kidding? Not all of us, but...
They certainly might kill some people.
Especially
but like
they're all pro-Palestine.
350,000 people is a lot of people.
Yeah. Well, that was like, I'm looking now because I'm forgetting the name of this artist who's really great. What's his name? Vince Staples.
Mm-hmm.
He had an interview on Z-Way, and he basically was saying that just like his issue with January 6th was that kind of busted white people did it,
yeah,
but not the actual thing itself.
Dude, I absolutely agree.
I'm not trying to lose my job. I will say I thought it was kind of icky and sad, and I felt bad for like the Congress people that were afraid. Like I didn't think it was great, but I get your take.
Speaking of Congress people, I got to yell at one of them.
Oh my God, we shouldn't tell the story. I don't want you to lose your job.
It's just I yelled at John Fetterman. He's a piece of shit.
Okay.
I saw him at an airport. I took my chance.
It makes me so anxious that you as
shaved.
A young Arab man yelled at John Fett. Like, I'm glad you're fine, but
he had shaved his face, and I gotta say, he looks more stupid somehow shaven than not.
You like screamed at him, and he kind of mumbled incoherently, right?
Yeah, he tried to he was like mumbling something as soon as I was like, John Fetterman, you're a dumb piece of shit, and he was like, and I was like, go support another war, you fucking moron.
I don't think he's really able to talk anymore.
No, but I gotta say, phrenologically, if I were to kind of like be like, what two creatures from what sort of miscegenation does John Fetterman descend? What is he a product of?
And just use the word miscegenation.
Yeah, he looks like a product of a gremlin, like from the movie Gremlin, and like Shrek.
Okay.
And I think if I get AI to mix those two, it would be John Fetterman.
Well, I'm glad you got to confront him directly, and I'm glad you're okay because...
Dude, I'm flying out of the airport a lot, and if I get the opportunity to see him again, I'm going to do it every single time.
If you get tackled, I'm going to be pissed with you, but okay.
He didn't... the other thing, he did not have security around him.
That's wild. He should probably be a little more afraid, honestly.
He's just walking around like a moron.
That's not a threat. Anyone who's listening, I'm just...
No.
Yeah.
Yeah. But.
Yeah. All right, I've got a topic that I feel sad about, but I think it's important to talk about.
Okay, hold on. I'm going to go through my notes here. Okay. One last thing on Iran.
Yeah.
We talked about striking the desalination plants. I can't remember if we mentioned this last episode or not, or where we were.
Last episode, we were like, will there be a war in Iran, I think.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, so it's been a bit.
Okay. Like I said, striking the desalination plants and knowing that Tehran is like low on water already and wondering whether the strategy is that there is a strategy, it doesn't seem like it, or the strategy is just chaos. I think it's also totally reasonable to believe that the strategy is to foment a civil war in Iran, given that you're making resources a lot more scarce. You know, there are factions within Iran. You're taking out the leadership. You're creating a power vacuum. You're trying to use the Kurds as like a shock troop to go in. And so you have all these people suddenly who are clamoring to divide Iran or to, seize power or whatever. So again, I don't want to watch this like a fucking game that people bet on or whatever, but like I worry that like this is going, these things happen, right? Like when people have their backs to a corner, like we've seen this happen so many times. So
yeah, I think that's a really fair point. I also think that it's weird. Like Trump's created a situation where even if he wants to pull back now, it's kind of hard to. Like he can't really claim any kind of victory, and so it just the path to deceleration is unclear.
Yeah.
All right, so we turn sadly to my beloved Mayor Mamdani, who I've
fucked up from what I hear.
Who I've spoken about at length.
His slutty wife wore a horrible outfit.
Oh my God, stop.
Is that what we're talking about?
No, why would you say that?
Because that's what that white lady on Twitter said.
Okay, that's a more lighthearted thing. We should end with that, but this is a more serious thing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, but never.
Did he wear a belly button outfit?
No. Never say that, even as a joke. Rama's beautiful. Okay, so no, this was actually pretty not great. So there has been a lot of people just kind of combing through Rama's social media history looking for proof that she is an anti-Semite.
Yeah.
And so including like posts that I know I've liked, like things from the Slow Factory, just like things that were basically calling for the right for Palestinians to have self-determination and self-defense. Really basic shit that no one gets mad at Israelis for saying,
Right.
And so Rama was hired as an illustrator for a book of short stories.
Mm-hmm.
And these short stories were collected by people in Gaza who, in the midst of the genocide, were doing writing workshops. And this author who curated their stories, I hadn't heard of her previously, but I'm very impressed with her. I will definitely be following her. Her name is Susanna Bolhawa.
Yep.
She was sort of talking about why she put together this compilation and just like the importance of people having moments to feel human and express themselves, like when they've been kind of reduced to just like living conditions that are so inhumane. So Rama didn't even really meet this woman. She just was contracted like through a third party to write, to illustrate. What happened is that people have talked about the way that, is it Susanna? Yeah, that Susanna has talked about Israelis and kind of made this argument that she uses dehumanizing language, which is already on the face of it, right? Like an insane thing to say to a Palestinian. That's just an insane thing to say. But just kind of calling out specific language that she's used. And Zohram is put on the spot and kind of told to like answer for his wife's actions, and his answer was right to kind of
The language
obfuscate,
is reprehensible, disgusting.
to say that
blah, blah,
her
blah.
language was reprehensible, and also to kind of be like, and Rama didn't really know this woman.
She called Israelis parasites.
Yes.
Is the
Yeah.
Okay.
And so I'm just going to play a little bit of her response because I was blown away. I thought it was incredibly eloquent. I thought it was incredibly even-handed, and she didn't hold back at all. And I think that's frankly appropriate. So I'm going to play a little bit of it.
The essay itself.
It's like a full 20 minutes, so I'm only going to play 4 minutes, but we'll link it in the show notes. I think it's worth people listening to in the full.
Why don't you just send it to me, and I'll put it in instead of play it here.
Well, I want to play it so you can also react to it.
Okay.
To the kind of violent racism that one does not have the power to meaningfully alter or alleviate. It is important that you understand the difference, Mr. Mamdani. Israel, and by extension Israelis, since, as we're constantly told, they're the only democracy in the region, have destroyed, shattered, and robbed my family of everything. They have done the same to every Palestinian family, no matter where they are on this planet. They have committed a genocide in full view of the world, in the wholeness of its blood and gore, its apocalyptic horror, its generational injury, and its moral harm to all of humanity. No words can adequately capture the evil I have witnessed or experienced at their hands. I do not have sufficient language to describe what they have done to us, what Gaza smells like, feel.
Go for it a little bit.
Gaza are being starved, beaten, raped, mutilated, and tortured as I speak. No one can tell me how I should speak about the people who forced my proud grandmother into a bug-infested shack so foreign Jews could live in her Jerusalem home. No one will tell me what to say about the Israelis who set our anguish to music and made TikTok trends from the mangled bodies of our babies. So, Mr. Mamdani, I was disappointed to hear what you said. But the truth is, I'm not mad at you, and I strangely am not taking it personally. I did not have the same visceral reaction that others had to condemn you. My overriding impulse was to correct and educate. In that spirit, and in the time-honored tradition of Arab or Muslim aunties offering unsolicited advice, I would like to encourage you to do the following. Number 1, when you feel pressure of powerful people asking you to condemn someone or something, just pause and gather information so you can construct a full picture from which you can then make a moral decision. Not a politically expedient or convenient decision, but a moral and ethical one. Because ultimately, that is what New Yorkers saw in you when they elected you against all odds to lead them. Number 2, in making such a decision, always be aware of the power dynamics and try to never condemn those without power or with lesser power as a reaction to pressure from those with tremendous power, those with access to wealth, media influence, political positions, and so on. I offer these words in the spirit of this holy month coming to a close now, and I offer it from a personal and collective Palestinian wound that opens wider with every new assault, every moment of violence, denial, marginalization, demonization, denigration, diminishment, humiliation, theft, appropriation, dismemberment, trauma, and dispossession poured on us every day of every year in one way or another. Lastly, and separately, I want to congratulate you on the work you have done and continue to do for the working families in New York. I have watched with admiration how you centered municipal workers as the heroes in every snowstorm, how you reimagined childcare as a right for every working family and as a social responsibility for everyone. These are things worthy of respect and admiration. But in this instance, you have erred. You succumbed to forces that seek to pick away at you, at your talented, beautiful wife, and at your work, clawing harder with each apology or concession you make. If you are not careful, they will siphon your soul before you even realize it.
That's all I wanted to play.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, I thought it was a really eloquent and fair response. I think you don't win by conceding something that is unfair. Like even if it's a hard take, I think it's worse to like look like you're doubling back and you don't have principles. I understand the pressure and like the desire to kind of like, I understand that he's not going to be perfect, first of all, and this doesn't change the fact that I like support him and wish him well, but I think it's good that he was called out. And I also think that it's good that he's held accountable. Like, I mean, he was elected as a pro-Palestinian mayor. You know what I mean? He was elected as a mayor who was going to represent all New Yorkers, and he was elected as someone who was going to not be ashamed for calling out Israeli occupation and genocide. And to tell someone who's Palestinian that they can't use language to talk about the people who are quite literally torturing and killing their families is very inhumane.
Yeah, one thing to keep in mind is that Israel just acquitted 5 soldiers who were caught on camera raping a Palestinian man. They, I think, also used the knife. They punctured his lungs. They committed like horrible acts, and this is one that was caught on video. We know Israeli soldiers have raped young boys and girls. When this video came out, the reaction from a lot of Israelis was to march, and when the investigation was launched, was to march in favor of the right to rape Palestinians. Israeli settlers and Israelis also burn olive tree groves. They poison the wells. They plant invasive plants, cause dust to come up, cause these horrible dust storms. They obviously harm the regenerative practices that were there before. So I don't know. I wouldn't call that a symbiotic relationship with the land and people. I think that Mamdani doesn't always remember. Like, yeah, obviously it is like horribly racist that people constantly are asking him things about whether or not he's anti-Semitic when they wouldn't have done that with literally any other mayor. I think we obviously know the reason. It's like it's not a mystery why he keeps getting asked these questions. And I think when he answers them in any way that like seeks, that legitimizes the question, he is just like reproducing the idea that anti-Israelism and anti-Semitism are the same.
Yeah. And she actually, which is a point that I know all of our listeners are familiar with, so we don't need to repeat it, but she even in this video also does the whole, and I mean, she does it so much more eloquently, but like, right, like I'm not anti-Jewish, like I'm in coalition with these Jewish people, but like I have a right to be anti-Israeli. I have a right to be against, you
can be anti-Jewish supremacy,
100%.
anti-Israeli.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. And yeah, I think that I think he made a mistake, and I think he naturally will change under the pressure of political office. I'm not such a purist. I don't think that like I can't support someone. I mean, this is my conviction. I understand it's not shared by everyone, but like I can't support someone in electoral politics for the function they can play in electoral politics, and they don't have to like. They're never going to be morally perfect, but I am glad that there was a backlash against this. That there was. And I also don't think it's a great look, frankly, to throw his wife under the bus. I think that really irked me a bit. I thought that was a bit off-putting to be like, Rama didn't know who she was contracting with. It's like, you can't have it both ways and be like, my wife is a professional and her own person, and be like, this was almost making it seem as if she made a mistake. You know what I mean? Or kind of like you were saying in the beginning, making it seem like, well, they never even really directly met. Like, who cares? It's a cause that, like, based on everything we do know about this woman, it seems like she would support as she should, Yeah. I thought that was a little bit tricky and not great.
I thought this would have been a perfect moment, honestly, for like, as bad as Trump is, one of his best moves is that when someone's like, oh, did you guys, or like they'll bring up something about like the Epstein files, and he's just like, oh, like, I don't know. Like, I haven't heard of that. Are people saying that? Wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Next question.
I think he needs to I don't know what the answer is, and it's kind of like we're seeing it in real time. I guess others like Ilhan Omar and Rashida Tlaib have dealt with this, and Keith Ellison to a certain extent, but like he can't keep on justifying the premise of their questions, and maybe at some point he stops answering them, like just be like, hey, I'm busy running the city. I don't have a comment on this book my wife illustrated. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Yeah. I mean, he's not perfect. He's going to make mistakes, but that was upsetting.
Yeah, I wonder if he's gonna walk it back. I think this is what being in office does to you, and if you take for granted the fact that the pro-Palestine coalition is just always going to vote for you because you're the best thing on offer among a pool of absolute dog shit Democratic candidates, then you're only going to like look to the right and make concessions there.
Actually, Mohammed Al-Kurd said something really similar to that. I'll just read it. I think I have it saved here. But yeah, I think, right, that's the point. Like, we're supposed to push him to remain left,
Well, he's also supposed I mean, I guess I don't know how much of this is like a function of him being a little bit spineless or opportunistic, or how much it is just like this would happen to anyone in office, even the most morally certain, morally clear person.
I think it's a function of office, and I think it's a function of him not being perfect. I mean, he's human,
Yeah, but I forgot what I was going to say. But yeah.
So this was, I'll just read the second. It was like a whole tweet chain, but Mohammed Al-Kurd that wrote, our issue is that we treat him as if he's a house of cards, as if his entire project would collapse if we dare criticize it. But the reality is simply different. If he's only getting pushback from the right, he will inevitably move to the right. Basic physics, really.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. And I thought it was very gracious that Susanna ended by kind of talking about things that he have done that are positive, but kind of, I thought that was a really kind of haunting but helpful warning. Like, if you allow the system to cannibalize you, it will, like, you have to actively fight that. You have to actively fight for the higher principles that you were elected on. And it probably still will to a certain extent.
We've talked about this before.
Personally am like, it's still better than nothing. Like, I think it's still better to have like electoral politics are never going to be as pure as the politics of like activism, but
we talked about this before in relation to something, I think about the Colombia protests or about Hamas or something, when he was asked to condemn one thing or another during the
election
primary campaign. And I think because he like kind of bought into the question, or he did condemn whomever it was that he condemned, I was just like, this is something to worry about. And I think a lot of people just get wrapped up in, they see like, again, one shining candidate among a pool of just horrible people. and it's understandable that people get excited, but I think we just have to start demanding more of politicians. And I guess that he's unfortunate in the sense that he's the only politician in recent memory from whom like people feel like if they make a demand, then he will adjust course from the left. And we'll see, right? Like he could still prove, he could be like, I fucked up. Like if he puts up on a press conference and is like, I want to address what happened. I made a mistake. I was put on the spot and I didn't think it through. And the effect of that was that I hurt my wife's reputation. And I obviously like threw this Palestinian person and writer under the bus for my own political expediency, and I won't be doing that again. Then just, yeah, you don't have to also say the thing that they want to hear you say.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think this is like also a continued very slight difference between us.
They're calling you a parasite.
They are.
Jake Lang is outside of his fucking mansion.
I was going to say.
Roasting a pig, being like these Muslim fucking hordes, these pieces of shit. And like, no, who's saying anything about that?
There's nothing like on the same level or equitable about this fight. Like the language that people who are pro-Israel use against Palestinians is so dehumanizing beyond imagination. There's just no there's no sense of, what's the word I'm looking for? Equity here or balance. But I think a very slight difference between us, and I think it is slight, is like I think I'm willing to accept more compromise, not on this issue, but like in general, he could fall further from the ideal, and I would still support him on the basis of him doing good within a system that is wrong. You know?
Yeah, I'd support him insofar as I think he's capable of like achieving it's in this system, all we have is utilitarian calculation, unfortunately. Like we can't start from like a different like first position and be like, how would we design a society from ground up for like radical equity?
Right.
Like we're far beyond that, and so we are like doing harm reduction at every level.
And as I've said, embarrassing as it is, I mean, he does mean something to me more than that. I also I do feel like deeply.
That's where we differ.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. But I will post the response also. To a lighter Mamdani moment, should we move to?
Well, hold on. No, I want to talk about the Jake Lang stuff real quick.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. That's good context.
He was outside of the mansion during an iftar or during Ramadan. I mean, it's during Ramadan, but like some event at Gracie Mansion.
It might have just been like a random day. I don't know. But he was outside, yeah.
I think there was he was hosting some sort of dinner. And then Jake Lang, who's the guy who was like, was it Minneapolis or?
It was Minneapolis.
Or was it Dearborn?
It was Minneapolis.
The guy who
we talked about on the pod actually.
Yeah, he was almost just like murdered by a mob of people because he decided it would be a good idea to go to Minneapolis and like be like, ICE is great, and
walk through a Somali neighborhood and burn a Quran.
Yeah, exactly. And so he got his shit rocked, and unfortunately was saved by one of the protesters and then thrown into like a car of random people who drove him away from the site. And he's just like this pudgy, ugly little piece of shit. And so he was like, puts on his little bulletproof vest, dresses up in his little outfit, and then goes and yells outside of Gracie Mansion some like slurs and stuff at Mamdani. And then he's like, I'm going to roast a pig out here and like also burn the Quran.
Can we pause? I don't understand why Islamophobes think that Muslims are like, because this has happened a lot, are like allergic to pigs. They just don't eat them. But it's not like they're like witches who touch pigs. And like, it's just such a strange thing.
Yeah.
Because there have been like pigs' heads nailed to mosques and stuff. It's just a very odd phenomenon.
I mean, it's an intimidation thing.
It is, but it's also like, it is like a weird way that you're treating Muslims like witches, like as if they are like allergic to this animal. It's strange.
Yeah.
So he was there with his pig?
Yeah, I guess so. And I mean, there's not really much more to say than that. It's just that he's went and tried to harass the mayor, and he's, I guess, his whole shtick now is just to go to different cities, and do like anti-Muslim events.
There was a
dressed in,
massive
like, military
protest on
garb.
both sides. I mean,
Yeah.
all the protesters who were like for this idiot were from out of town. And then there was then there was like the bomb threat.
Oh, yeah, that seemed to be done by some
Teenagers from
teenagers
Pennsylvania.
who were interested in ISIS.
Yeah. So that was like a weird wrinkle too.
So I don't think, that wasn't tied to the Jake Lang.
It
thing,
was. They
it?
were there
It was?
counter protesting him.
No, they put the threat against Mamdani.
They came because they said that there was going to be an anti-Muslim protest. I can check, but that's definitely the case. I mean,
No.
they're kids. Who knows what the fuck they were actually thinking?
They were
but
inspired by ISIS
Yeah.
to attack Mamdani.
but I think their main inspiration was that there was an anti-Muslim protest and they were burning a Quran and stuff.
It's barely worth pointing out, but the people who are asking Mamdani to constantly flagellate before them to be like, what do I think of the state of Israel? Because, or like, what do I think about anti-Semitism? Although he's been like, obviously not the least bit anti-Semitic. They just have not mentioned anything about Jake Lang and his hordes of just like dysgenic white people going and essentially just doing Klan shit outside of the mansion.
Yeah, no, you're right. The hypocrisy is kind of insane.
And so I would, if I were him, I would also just like point to them and be like, yo, unless you're gonna also treat this the same, I don't want to answer any of these dumbass questions anymore. Like, it's just so beyond the pale at this point.
Yeah, and it's like, how can he walk that line and still appear to be like a leader? It's hard. Yeah.
He doesn't. What are they gonna do to him?
I don't know.
Like, he won't win a second term. Maybe he will. Maybe he'll like actually inspire a lot more people this time, and be like, by the way, the tides on this whole like anti-Israel equates to anti-Semitism thing is just, it's done.
Totally.
It's broken in the
Yeah.
U.S. and there's just like only a handful of like faithful like little gremlin foot soldiers
Who are, like, in
willing to carry
power.
it forward
Yeah.
in the media and like constantly harangue people for it. But it is fucking done. Like, even the Democrats, they had this like secret report that they, I guess, leaked, but they didn't want to talk about. That was just like, oh yeah, everyone who was telling us we were going to lose the election solely based on Gaza was right.
Yeah.
Like, they now definitively know, according to their own internal polling, that is why they lost the election.
Or it was a large reason. Yeah.
The favorability rating for Israel in general in the US has just like plummeted to historic lows. People across the political spectrum are just like, why the fuck are we about to go to like a 20-year long war because of Israel? Like, when they call us goy and like they insult us and they think we're like, they spit on Christians in Israel. Like,
Yeah. No, I think that makes sense. Yeah.
it's just, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Okay, what else?
Could we end on this fun item?
Yeah, what is it?
The midriff.
I know.
Oh.
You guys,
Okay. So Naomi Wolf under fire for unhinged post criticizing Rama Dawaji's exposed navel. So this is being reported by the account Muslim Girl. I'll just read Naomi Wolf, who I don't really know much about her. I guess she used to be kind of a big feminist and then went off the deep end. So she was criticizing this picture, which was like an iftar dinner between Rama and Mamdani and, God, why am I blanking on this guy's name? What's this man's name, Ahmed?
Zoran?
No, this guy.
Mahmoud Khalid?
Yeah, Mahmoud Khalil and his wife. So this is her post. Random juice on the Gracie Mansion table. Mayor's wife with exposed navel on what is supposed to be a very important Muslim holy day. Islam sees modesty in dress as being linked to spiritual purity. more physical chemistry between these two than his newlywed and her husband. Everyone on this administration's calendar happens to revile both Jews and America. None of it adds up. And then she asks AI, can you wear a crop top for iftar as Rama Dawaji is doing? And AI says, it is generally advised not to wear a crop top for iftar.
Mm-hmm.
And she keeps on going, saying, like, it's super rude by Muslim norms for the hostess to reveal her midriff. Like, Mahmoud Khalil's wife is veiled and is more religious. And this was like a really funny, hilarious, honestly kind of lighthearted thing, but it is just so crazy. Like, it's like so damned if you are, damned if you don't. Ultimately, they just hate Muslim women. Like, it's like if she was dressed conservatively, it would have been like, oh, her husband made her wear that. Because like she's not even wearing a crop top. She's wearing like a top that has like slightly ridden up on her belly.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the whole, and just like the weird kind of like psychosexual analysis of like, there's chemistry between her and Mahmoud Khalil. Like, ultimately, these people are like fucking Puritans. They kind of have like Taliban-esque tendencies when it comes to gender and sexuality anyway. And they're projecting onto this very normal photo of a dinner. Yeah, the comments were hilarious. There are people being like, what is her issue with the juice? Like, I'm not sure why she's fixated on the juice being on the table.
Right. Yeah, that's the weird part.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird and kind of contradictory because she's just like, okay, well, she is dressed like a slut, but also because I'm a Western feminist, I think she should be able to dress like a slut, and these veiled women are oppressed. So you're just like, what do you actually want her to do? Like, I feel like the best solution would be some sort of like half niqab, half bikini sort of outfit.
Yeah, I mean, I think the thing is, again, ultimately they just hate Muslim women, but also they've kind of stereotyped Muslim women to such a small box that they're so stunned, or like they're kind of like, well, if you're not in that box, you're not actually Muslim. And it's like, who asked you? Like, this is not like your thing to police. I mean, there were so many funny comments being like, why do we have non-Muslim haram polices right now? But like, yeah, it's just really ridiculous to try and kind of both type someone and then be mad that they don't meet your stereotype.
Right.
There were so many funny comments. I just want to read a couple of them. I thought the concern was that Mamdani would bring Sharia law to New York City, not that his wife does not follow Sharia law. Naomi Wolf demands the Zohran implemented Sharia law she was promised by Fox News. The Sharia terrorist mayor's wife isn't dressed modestly enough. Bitch, are you the Taliban? And then there's also a really cute comment on this actual Instagram post. I don't know if I'll be able to find it, but it was basically like, all of my shirts rise up after I have iftar, or like my tummy always shows after iftar. Which, like, I think that's, yeah, I do feel bad for her, honestly. She's under so much pressure, like, and being criticized so intensely for her image. And she's just, like, existing and moving throughout the world.
Yeah.
And trying to be, like, an illustrator and, like, you know, just doing her profession.
Okay, I think two final things. One, inshallah, Benjamin Netanyahu's dead or gravely injured.
I hope so, man. It's weird. It's like, is everyone just collectively hoping it and that's why people are reposting it?
I feel like the only justice is for him to actually be brought before an international body and then like put in prison. But he's fucking 79 years old already, and I think he was diagnosed with cancer, and it pains me to say that there's nothing you can do to this man at this age short of like physically torture him for the remainder of his days. That would
Which is
feel
not
like it's
yeah.
at all restorative.
Just for context, in case people don't know, there's just been like so many rumors that he's dead because he hasn't talked for a while. He's probably just in a bunker, but it is a weird thing.
Yeah. People also mentioned that shortly after Iran struck like one of the first waves of missiles, people apparently tracked the wing of Zion or whatever, which is their Air Force One, to Germany or to like maybe other countries that didn't let him land, and then eventually to Germany, and was in Germany for a while.
He's probably getting cancer treatment somewhere.
Yeah, who knows? Anyway, I hope he's dead. Fuck him. The other thing is that it's official that Niam is over.
Oh no! Wait, I thought we already announced this. It's over.
I think we were unsure.
Okay.
But it is officially over, and that shining, gleaming luxurious city in the desert that was going to just be the pinnacle of human imagination and capability and ingenuity is now becoming AI data centers.
We did announce this, Ahmed.
No,
We 100% did.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, we did.
I don't
Because
think
I
we
remember
did.
learning this from you.
I don't think it was the last episode. If it is, apologies. But
A
I
double
only-
death to
I
Neom.
feel like I think I only saw that recently that it was actually officially AI data centers.
I'll go back and check. I think that I don't know that they said the whole project was scrapped, but I remember you saying most of it was going to become data centers.
I might have told you that between episodes.
Maybe it's possible. Well, you heard it here first. If you haven't heard it here already, you know it's doubly dead.
Yeah, which is hilarious. I think they've spent so much money on it, and now with the war in Iran, like, I just don't know. I wonder what the impact will be on like these Gulf
Economies.
monarchies.
Yeah.
Because they have just been so
Spending.
like, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, I thought that was funny.
That is funny.
The idea that you can also have AI data centers out in the middle of the
Also
desert
is like, yeah, doesn't make sense.
crazy.
All right, y'all. Hope you're staying safe. And we know a lot of people's loved ones are in areas that they're worried about. So we're praying for you and hope that you are finding some respite in this month if you are observing.
Mm-hmm. Okay, bye.
Bye.